Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Jure Show, ladies and gentlemen. It is Saturday, July 19th, so we have a little rare episode here on this weekend. I hope everyone's having a blessed weekend, though, so far. But thanks again for tuning in to today's show. I appreciate you all for tuning into the latest groundbreaking news where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please make sure to follow, like, subscribe, share with some friends. I do appreciate when you do that. Let's get into the best hour that radio has to offer, shall we? Let's get right into it. You know, this case that's been stated, this whole Epstein case, again, to me, is absolutely absurd that it's actually moving in this direction now. We've got the Wall Street Journal now coming out and stating that Donald Trump in 2003 actually wrote some type of lewd, I guess, poem or whatever the hell it was to Jeffrey Epstein and his birthday in 2003. Can you believe this? This is the rock they're trying to overturn right now. Now, Trump apparently told Rupert Murdoch, of course, not to release this. It wasn't him. But he did it anyway. Now, Trump's saying that it's fake, of course. So now you focus on this. And what you're finding out now, obviously, is now that Trump is going to be suing them. Can you believe that? Trump is now going to be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corporation, and Rupert Murdoch. It's hilarious. It really is hilarious. Again, it's all smoke and mirrors, folks. There's nothing here. There's nothing damning in anything that he wrote to him, if he even wrote it at all, which he says he hasn't. I mean, this is what goes for news today. Look over here now, and don't look over there. Now, it's important to understand that, again, they don't want you focusing on this Epstein case. They want you focusing on Trump now. How they're going to smear Trump. That's what they want to do. And again, this will go away soon. And again, you're not going to get anything from it. But on Friday, yesterday, the Justice Department requested a federal court to unseal grand jury transcripts related to this Epstein case. Again, as this scrutiny intensifies over this Trump administration's handling of these records of Epstein. Again, I don't think you're going to get anything from this, folks. I don't think you're going to get a damn thing from it. Don't you all remember phase one of this whole ridiculous nonsense? When you had all those conservative influencers, right? The conservative influencers went to the White House, and they come out with these binders that says phase one. And of course, it's all redacted information. There's nothing in there. Nothing you can look at. Absolutely nothing going on there. Nothing to see here. No information. No release of these files. And of course, apparently then it became a hoax. Right? Apparently the whole thing was a hoax. There's nothing there. Now, Attorney General's top deputy, this will be Pam Bondi's top deputy, Todd Blanche. Remember I told you he was the one that was actually holding all this information, preventing it from going anywhere? Submitted the motion to unseal these Epstein transcripts as well as those in the case against convicted British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father, Rupert Maxwell, was a Mossad agent, just so everyone's aware of that. Just that one day after Donald Trump publicly directed the department to take that step. Well, because he was getting hit with it. People were not dropping this. People were not letting it go. And so now they've got to give us something, right? But again, I don't think you're going to get anything from this. You're not going to see anything of any value. You're not going to see the arrests. You're not going to know what happened, right? It's just going to be the same old, same old. And I told you this was going to happen. And should you be shocked about this? Of course not. Of course not. So while it looks like they're trying to do something, just understand, nothing's going to happen here. No one's going to go to jail. You're not going to get any information. Let it die as is, folks. You're not going to get it. You were lied to. Just admit it. Now, Paul Craig Roberts has this really great piece that he wrote yesterday. and it's titled, Release Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, some of you are thinking, why would you release Epstein's girlfriend, who got the girls for him, who was helping organize all this? But again, if this is the hoax that it's claiming to be, why wouldn't you release Ghislaine Maxwell? Now, she actually wants to come forth and speak to the Congress directly for some reason. Doesn't make any bit of sense to me. Of course, you're not going to get any truth from her as it is. But he goes on to say, Ghislaine has been convicted for being an accessory to Epstein's sex trafficking of underage kids. But we now have it from Donald Trump and, of course, Attorney General Pam Bondi of the United States that there is no Epstein client list that provides proof that Epstein was engaged in any of this sex trafficking. Even though that the British Broadcasting Channel has claimed that there is. So he asked, does Epstein keep clients, and dates, times, and partners in his head? And again, I told you this yesterday. Most people that have looked into this, that have done research into this, they don't know exactly if Epstein himself kept the so-called black book, right? Where he's writing all this information down. But it is possible that Ghislaine Maxwell recorded a lot of this information and that she actually has a list. But he goes on to say, if there is no client list and there's nothing in the Epstein file, right, how were they both convicted? That's a question you have to ask yourself. So then why was he arrested? They're not going to arrest a billionaire based on no information. They're not going to arrest Ghislaine Maxwell if there's no information. So where's the evidence? That's what we need to ask ourselves. So where's the evidence? What are we talking about here? Now, again, Trump and Bondi obviously didn't expect to see these kind of consequences, right? This pushback from their base. But again, this denial has not disproved the problem, but has only elevated it. But what if there was no sex trafficking? What if Epstein's whole operation was this honeypot entrapment of American elites? Epstein didn't want to make money sex trafficking underage kids. He was well endowed by Mossad. Epstein's job was to provide blackmail information that Israel could use to force the foreign policy of the United States to conform with the foreign policy of Israel. And of course, he succeeded in that. So you have to ask yourself, what don't they want you to know about this? Now, you see the initial crime, of course. The sex trafficking of underage children. The abuse, the rape, the torture, God knows what else. But we look at this and we say, that's the crime. Well, not so fast. What else happened there? Now, I told you on the show the other day that he has, in his New York mansion, they found that every room was bugged with video recording devices in the room to record whomever was in there. Now, if you think that Epstein just recorded himself in every room, I think you need to get your head examined. Because obviously there's something more there than meets the eye. But again, if there is this blackmailing scheme, and Epstein's working on behalf of another nation, but again, I'm not saying that he did, I'm just saying it looks like this could definitely be it. And as I told you, he knew several Israeli prime ministers. He knew these people. He knows these people. The heads of other states, we know all this. So again, if he's using this information to, again, bribe either politicians or the donor class themselves on behalf of whomever is leading this whole sick scheme, we should know about this. There's going to be a trail to these people. And I think that's what you don't want, or not you, but the powers that be do not want that to get out. Because then again, what do you have now? You have no more blackmailing scheme. It's over. And the whole house of cards just collapses in and of itself. You're not going to elect these same politicians. They've been bought and paid for by, AIPAC and other organizations and do the bidding of other nations. You're not going to do that. Why would you? It's ridiculousness. So he ends by saying, my take is that Netanyahu appeared, as we know, he appeared at the White House the other day, in order to add Israel's heavyweight to that of the ruling of the American establishment that the release of the Epstein information is a no-no. If the Epstein files are released, then after years of all this work, cultivating the same schmuck politicians that come through on both sides of the aisle, by the way, regardless of their party, the expense, of course, the massive amount of cash that's poured into these campaigns, and of course the effort to putting all this blackmail over the heads of the ruling class is all for nothing. But again, once these files are released to the American public, Israel's blackmail information is useless because these people go to jail and you have to elect new people. And you're going to be damn sure you're not going to elect anybody that's associating with the state of Israel. So there you go. So now you have politicians that are not going to be serving Israel's best interest, but you're going to have people serving America's best interest. The powers that be, the ruling elite, cannot afford to have this information made worthless. That's what it comes down to. I think that's what you're seeing here. I think, again, they know this. And you have other people freaking out about this. But I'm going to leave you with this. For those of you that are saying, yeah, nothing's there. I believe Trump. I believe Dan Bongino. I believe Kash Patel. I believe Pam Bondi. They're rock stars. They're great. Okay, fine. That's fine. You can have that opinion. It's on you. You can have that opinion. But why, after Epstein was first arrested back in 2006, why was he looking to get status in the state of Israel? Why was he looking to, again, immigrate to Israel? Why was he trying to do that? And why was he given a $77 million mansion paid for by Les Wexler? I believe he's the one that's the head of Bath and Body Works, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I went over his financiers, I guess, his benefactors the other day with you. Why would you give somebody who, again, was arrested for this crime and released, why would you give somebody a $77 million mansion? For what? What did he do in response to that? What did he do to earn that? These are the things you have to ask yourself. Why was Epstein given all this money? Did he get by 2 different islands, mansions all over the United States, a mansion in Paris? I mean, come on. This rat runs deep, folks. And we haven't even scratched the surface of it yet. But again, this is what I'm telling you. Don't expect anything to come from it. It's never going to come out. Just be, I guess, happy that you got what you got from it. Because, again, nothing's going to come from this. Nothing more is going to come from this. So don't expect it. All right, let's talk about the Middle East right now. We got to talk about what's going on abroad because, again, our foreign policy is heavily weighing in on all this. This is in Reuters. It says that the United States does not support Israel's Syrian strikes. And al-Shara, the now president of Syria, now vows to protect the Druze population. Okay. So as you know, I told you this the other day as well. We had Israel bombing inside of Syria, hitting Damascus, 160 different targets on Wednesday. They were hitting government forces in the south, demanding they withdraw, and of course, and saying that Israel aimed to, again, protect the Druze population. Right? Right? That's why they were doing all this bombing, of course. Now, these airstrikes blew up a part of Syria's defense ministry and hit near the presidential palace. Now, this is interesting to me. This isn't being talked about anywhere, by the way. A couple people are talking about this. Not a lot of people, though. Hit near the presidential palace, where al-Shara lives. Now, you have to ask yourself, what were they trying to hit? Hit near. There's the words, hit near. Now, they're telling you the answer without telling you the answer. Of course. It's pretty clear, folks, this was an assassination attempt to take out al-Shara. That's really what it comes down to. But they missed. And again, which makes my point, again, this is not really about protecting the Druze population in Damascus or in Syria or anywhere else. They want to control this land. They want to control the Golan Heights and this southern portion of Syria right now. This is what they want. And of course, nobody's suggesting that Israel try to carry out an assassination attempt, but again, it's as clear as mud that that's what happened. Now, again, it's important to understand many people have been killed over these past couple days in this conflict, again, pitting the Druze fighters against the government troops, other tribes. It's all ridiculous, folks. It's all ridiculous. Now, Tammy Bruce, whom some of you know is a spokesperson for... Spokesperson, that's interesting. They say spokesperson. Why not spokeswoman? The United States Department spokesperson, Tammy Bruce, said the United States condemned this violence in Syria and was actively engaging all of its constituencies there and called on the Syrian government to lead the path forward. There you go, folks. So let's go over, though, a couple things here. Couple things. The Middle East is on fire right now. Understand that. It's not de-escalating, it's escalating. Again, it's being escalated by Israel. And, of course, the United States that follows right behind every step of the way. You've got the Houthi rebels in Yemen that have shut down the port of Eilat in southern Israel right now. Now, that port has been shut down for almost a year. They only have 3 ports. We know that port in Haifa was completely destroyed. And now Eilat is, again, not being used. So now Israel's going to have a hell of a time trying to get anything into their country that comes in via ship because they only have 1 active port right now. Not a good thing for their economy. Now, again, the bombings have also taken place in other parts, right? Now, the Times of Israel is calling this an aid support now to keep the port afloat. No pun intended, of course. This is what's happening right now. They need aid to come in and start rebuilding because, again, this devastation from both Iran and the Houthi rebels that have taken out this port are causing an economic chaos inside Israel. And again, I told you this before, you're going to see a lot of people start leaving Israel because of this. This whole situation that took place in this 12-day war that's going to start up eventually. I don't know when, but eventually it's going to kick back up. Now you've got the IDF Air Force attacks on Syria, right? With his attempted assassination attempt on the leader, Ahmed al-Shara, but they missed. Again, you have to ask yourself, what is your government doing? And the answer is clear. They want control of this area. They want control of this region. That's what it comes down to. You've also got Ben Gvir said that the key Druze leaders would now vote for Netanyahu from this region. I believe he's referring to in Israel, because that's where Druze also live. If they were able to be viable voters, which they could easily get them to become. So you're seeing this bait and switch now. Okay, we'll bomb this part of Syria for you. We can take this land, protecting your people, quote unquote, as long as you give us some votes. So again, it's a pay-for-play scheme. Works wonders, doesn't it? And then you've got Erdogan of Turkey. President Erdogan was said to have been telling Israel to stop all this. So you're seeing now Turkey starting to get upset about these bombings that are taking place in Syria. And again, is he going to act? We don't know. But I'm sure, if I know, that Israel has Turkey in the rear view as wanting to, again, take land. I'm sure Erdogan knows this. And Turkey's going to be much more difficult to strike than any of these other neighboring Muslim countries. Now, there's also talks of the Knesset. This just came out. I heard this from Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson yesterday on Dialogue Works. He said that there were talks on the Knesset inside Israel, which again is like their Congress, like we have here in the United States. They want Syria, they want Jordan, and they also want Egypt. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? And of course, they want everything in Gaza. Don't forget that. Now, the U.S. is giving them, as of July 1st, $510 million of weapons. 7,000 bombs, I'm told. Does that sound like we're de-escalating, folks, or escalating the situation? Well, I think you all can agree we're escalating very, very quickly into a very much hot war in the Middle East that's going to keep persisting on so long as we continue to fund it. And again, I don't know how the Trump administration hasn't figured this out yet. We're giving Ukraine more weapons. For what? So more slaughter can continue? primarily of the Ukrainians. I mean, come on. They have no chance of beating Russia. Trump knows this. Yet we're sending more arms so they can defend themselves. Why are we not pushing for peace? At some point, you've got to cut your losses and say, listen, Putin, what do you want? What else is there to save lives? Because, I mean, this is not going to end well, this war of attrition. And they're going to keep, again, advancing across Ukraine if need be necessary. And again, more people have to senselessly die. It's awful. It really is. This has been going on for over 3 years now. And not once have the Ukrainians deterred or counterattacked in any successful way against Russia. Just doesn't happen. Speaking of Israel, since we're on the topic, I wanted to talk to you about this. No one else is talking about this, by the way. Only a couple people, like I said, in the independent news. This is from the Vatican News. It says, Israeli forces strike Catholic parish in Gaza. This is the only Catholic church, by the way, in the Gaza Strip. It's called the Holy Family Church. As I said, the only Catholic church inside Gaza. Understand that. And it was struck by an air raid the other day. Unbelievable. It was hit by this tank. Oh, God. 3 people died from their injuries. Others were reported more lightly wounded. Oh, jeez. Including the parish priest, Father Gabriel Romanelli. No one talks about this. Why not? And why was this church hit? And of course, it was by mistake, of course. It wasn't intentional that they took the entire thing and demolished it, injuring many people, killing people. And the cardinal, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, said to Vatican News, what we know for sure is a tank, the IDF says, by mistake, of course. I added that last part in there. But we are not sure about this. They hit the church directly. The Church of the Holy Family, the Latin Church. There are 4 people seriously wounded. Among those 4, 2 have very dramatic conditions, and their lives are in serious danger. There are also other injuries, less problematic, according to the parish priest, because they were all in church. Now, I want you to stop and think about that. All these people were in the church when this took place. And by the way, the only thing left of this church remaining is the facade in the front of it, the front wall of this church. It looks like a beautiful church, too, by the way. And this is what they're dealing with now. Now, I told you the other day, there's no anesthesia. So if anyone's severely injured, they have to operate. They have to operate without any type of anesthesia. You have to be awake, essentially, during these procedures, if they can even do anything for you. It ends by saying, we don't have complete information about what has happened in Gaza today because of the communication in Gaza is not that simple. Well, again, they're cutting off electricity to the region. So you can't get this information out. Not a good thing, folks. Not a good thing. And again, we sit here and we go, okay, we're told, Christians and Jews, we believe in the same thing, essentially. And yet we're seeing churches destroyed. No, it's always by mistake. It's never, no one ever fesses up to anything. We didn't mean to do this. We didn't mean to do that. It's ridiculousness. In and of itself, it's ridiculousness. Again, did Donald Trump say anything about the 3 that were killed during this church service in Gaza? The Pope has come out and condemned this. He's calling for an indefinite ceasefire. But who the hell else is... Which politician of yours is bringing this to light? Not a damn one. And I think we know why. This one's in the Jerusalem Post. I'm going to go over this one before we move on. Mike Huckabee threatens... look at this. Mike Huckabee is now saying that he's going to stop measures, this visa program, over Israel's restrictions on evangelical groups. That'd be groups coming in to proselytize people. Again, to get them to convert. Well, Israel's saying we've had enough of it. What a shock, isn't it? Oh, dear. So, in a strongly worded letter to the Israeli Interior Minister Moshe Arbel, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee voiced his dissatisfaction with Israel's refusal to grant collective entry visas to numerous Christian organizations. It makes you laugh. It really does. As if he's shocked. Huckabee said it would be unfortunate if we were forced to publicly disclose that Israel is engaging in harassment and displaying a negative stance towards these groups. He concluded with a pointed warning. Should this continue, I have no choice but to consider implementing a measure against Israel's citizens requesting U.S. visas. Interesting stuff, right? Interesting stuff. Oh, God, folks. You know, we live in such ridiculous times. Such ridiculous times. And I have nothing more to really say about that other than what's happening. What do you see happening? You don't see this camaraderie between Christians and Jews there. And again, if you're out there doing that in Israel, you're going to get the boot now. They don't want you there. Goodbye. See you later. Have fun. Yeah, go try to carry a cross in Israel. Let me know what happens there. This next article is in the Federalist I've got for you today. It says that America is not a nation of immigrants. What does that mean? What's going on here? Now, this bipartisan bill that just took place was being sponsored, of course, by Maria Salazar of Florida, a Republican. And again, she's been on this media tour trying to promote for what she calls, and falsely, by the way, a revolutionary bill that offers the solution to our immigration crisis. Interesting. Very interesting. But of course, Salazar's bill isn't revolutionary, and it doesn't offer a solution to our immigration crisis. It offers amnesty wrapped in platitudes. The key problem of this bill is that it says it's earned opportunity for long-term immigrants to stay here and work. Well, first of all, stop. We got to understand the language here. First of all, if you're an immigrant, you're here legally. You don't have to worry about any of this. What she's referring to are illegal aliens. That's the problem. So we've got to talk about the right terminology. Are they illegal aliens or are they immigrants? Because immigrants obviously have the right to stay here and work, so long as they're here legally. So, again, how long of a term? 5 years? Does this mean people who illegally snuck across our border as recently as 2020 would be given amnesty to remain in the United States forever? Without any type of obligation or responsibility that come with full citizenship? I mean, come on. What are we doing here, folks? And again, we know that Biden let in 20 million people. We know that at least 22 to 25 million people were here before that. So when they come out to tell you, we probably got about 20 million illegals in this nation. No. That's completely false. We're probably looking at somewhere around 45 to 50 million illegals in this country. That's a real number. That's with a good estimate, too. For years, they kept saying it was 11, and then after a while, someone's like, you said that a decade ago. No one else came into this country illegally? And of course, they had to go through, do more research. I think during the Trump administration, they came out and said it was 22. 22. So then, given the fact that you know that roughly 20 million illegals came in under Biden, you're looking at over 40 million illegal aliens, at least, in this country. And that's being generous, I think. Now, of course, this is a miscarriage of law, folks. It really is. No one deserves to be rewarded for violating our immigration policies. Think about that, though. If you can get in the country, this is what they're telling you. This is what they're telling everybody in the world, by the way. If you get in the United States, if you're here long enough, right, you lay low, you stay under the radar, eventually you'll get amnesty. You'll be able to stay in the United States forever. With your family, you won't be harassed anymore. You'll have everything you want. Just get here. Now, does that sound normal? Does that sound like a process that's working for everybody? And let me add this in here, too. When you have a population, an unemployment population, right? People that don't work in this country. When you have a group of people that are disabled and can't work. Or when you have a homeless population, as we do in this country. when you sit there and you say, you know what the answer to this is? Let's bring in more people. That doesn't seem to make any sense. We can't even take care of the people that need help or need the skills to get a job, but you're going to keep bringing in more people to the tune of legal immigrants of 1 million a year plus the illegal aliens? That doesn't make any type of sense to me, folks. And it shouldn't make any type of sense to you either. Yeah, but billions of people all over the world, obviously would like to come here. Why wouldn't they? We've seen this from 170 different countries. They cross into the country. They stay here. And of course, they're given some type of amnesty, or they go to one of our wonderful sanctuary cities, right? Gavin Newsom knows all about that. Karen Bass knows all about that. Eric Adams in New York City knows all about that. Right? We have our own government allowing illegal aliens to come into this country and stay here. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Now, we've seen this before in this country. I just want to make this clear. We've seen this before in the country. We saw this under the Reagan administration in 1986. Right? He had this immigration reform that came through, which gave amnesty to roughly 3 million illegal aliens. Right? And, of course, in exchange by Congress for border security. Right? Never happened. Things of that nature never happened. We never got any border security. We have a wide open border. And our northern border is wide open as well. Now, of course, when promoting his immigration reform, Reagan trotted the line that, of course, is being touted today. We are a nation of immigrants, right? We keep hearing it. Nation of immigrants, nation of immigrants, right? You hear the ad nauseum now. And we even have Republicans like Mike Lawler, who's in support of this Dignity Act that failed, by the way. I'm very happy about that. This act did fail, and it should fail. And I'm glad it failed, because, again, this is what they were pushing. But, again, they saw the pushback from American citizens. Donald Trump threatened, well, he didn't threaten, he said, I'm going to close this border. I'm going to control the border. And the people that, again, are here illegally are going to be brought back to their country of origin. That is the natural response to something like that. They've even given people the opportunity to go back, but the opportunity to possibly come back legally. Which is why you've seen 1 million people legally self-deport themselves and leave the nation. Now, again, the Trump numbers are not where they should be, but they're working on it. They're getting there. Not nearly what it should be. They should have been much better than what they are right now. Again, if you look back at history, in 1954, you have Eisenhower removing just over 1 million illegal aliens in the course of about a couple months. And yet Trump's been in office for 6 months, and we've only deported, I think, maybe 500,000, if that, if we're lucky. I mean, it's not where it needs to be, folks. This is what I'm just trying to tell you. When you have Joe Biden letting in 20 million illegals in the last 4 years, on top of the, again, illegals that have been here, you're looking, again, at tens of millions of people, potentially, that could be deported. And again, the issue comes up. We're a nation of immigrants. We must protect that, right? But we're not a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of citizens. That's what we are. We are citizens of a nation. Now, again, the people that came and founded America came to settle it, of course, and settle it they did. They were not immigrating to establish the nation, right? They created the nation, right? We have all our founding fathers. They created this nation, right? They were not immigrants. So, again, the whole idea, everyone has come here from somewhere else, that can be said about any civilization anywhere in the world. Really, it can be. So, again, it falls on deaf ears, of course. They love to just say, everyone's an immigrant, right? You're an immigrant. No, I'm not an immigrant. I'm a citizen, as are most Americans, as we can see. So, we've got to understand this, the difference between, obviously, immigrants, an illegal alien, and, of course, what a citizen is. So, again, I'm not sure why we have Republicans pushing this bill for this mass amnesty. It's really, really troubling to see this. But it's not shocking. Again, it's not shocking at all. Now, good news is Desantis has deportations already underway at Alligator Alcatraz, right? Apparently, it's going well so far. It says here that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that deportations are already underway. That's good. The migrant detention facility in the Florida Everglades, noting that he is waiting until the center reaches full capacity to proceed on plans to transfer Camp Blanding into a similar facility. So again, he's going to keep working with the Trump administration to, again, find these locations that can house these people right before they are deported. That's what it's going to be. So we're seeing that. You're seeing a governor comply with the law, right? He understands this. Ron DeSantis, as I said, on the White House, too. So again, he's going to be in lockstep with Donald Trump. But you see the comparison. You see the difference between a Gavin Newsom, who calls illegal aliens his people, or Karen Bass when you see ICE doing their job, following federal law, federal immigration law, that is, saying this is unnecessary, this is unacceptable, you need to go home, you need to get out of here. You see the difference. Who's following the law here? That's all that ICE is doing. They are only following the existing immigration law of this nation. That's been passed through Congress. That's been signed into law by the president. And they're enforcing it. That's all Trump is doing here. He's enforcing the law. And while you have your crybabies like Adam Schiff or Alex Padilla, like here in California, who want now the ICE patrols to unmask themselves. Now, why would you do that? Why would you want ICE to take their masks off? Which is going to put them in harm's way. Which is going to allow them to be doxxed. Which puts their families at risk. Why would you allow them? But they won't do it then. Then again, this is what they want to see. How else can they get around ICE? Well, get people not to work with ICE. If they're going to have to show their face. You're going to get less people. You get less recruitment. So you try to circumvent the process, the law, from being enforced by, again, dismantling it. That's why you saw the defund the police. How can we get crime up? Defund the police. Get less police officers out there. Try to take away police immunity. There you go. How many people are going to want to come in and do that job? When you have mayors, when you have governors that don't have your back. And again, that's why you see a lot of people in California going to red states now. They don't want to deal with this. They're sick of it. They're sick of being treated like this. And again, all they're doing is following the laws already put into place by the state government. Again, not a shock, not a shock. It's all about the dismantling of the society, folks. This in the Washington Times says that the case study finds here that 99% of Biden illegal, and again here it's incorrectly stated, illegal immigrants, the parolees, are still in the United States. Now again, they're illegal aliens. If you're an immigrant, you're here legally. If you're not here legally, you are an illegal alien. Two different things. Now, just 1% of the illegal aliens, I'm correcting them, caught and released in a special test case 2 years ago have actually left the United States, according to ICE data that underscores how difficult the job that the Trump administration now faces in trying to unwind the Biden border surge. Remember, you were told the border was, secured, it was in control. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. So you have, in this little test here, you have 2,572 migrants were paroled and then required to check in with ICE within 60 days to be served their official immigration court summonses. Well, 2 years later, you're not getting these people to check in. That's what they're basically saying here. Look at this. I mean, oh, God. It says ICE told the judge that it can confirm that 28 of them have left the United States, meaning 99% of them may still be in the United States. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous. Again, why would they leave? They have a safe haven in Los Angeles, for God's sakes, and with the state. You saw this in Providence in the article I gave you the other day. We're investigating our local police, see if they were aiding and abetting federal agents. I mean, this is the stupidity of this nation. At some point, you got to say, folks, you're going to get laughed at by people across the world. What other nation does this? No nation that wants to survive, I'll tell you that much. You can't survive in a nation that is lawless. And giving mass amnesty to illegal aliens? For what? For what purpose? Other than cheap labor and exploitation. It's unbelievable. Look at that. There you go. There you go. You have all these people still in the country from the Biden era, the Biden regime. God knows if he was even awake for any of this. I want to shift the focus now, not out of California, of course, because anything that happens in California you should know about, because it's probably going to come to your state very, very soon. And this is the Washington Examiner. And I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen when it happened. But it says that Newsom unveils $101 million to build Palisades low-income housing. Yeah. You got a governor that doesn't give a damn about, the status of illegal aliens in your state. He doesn't care about taxing you to death. Doesn't mind if law and order is gone. Doesn't mind if the state burns down. While he was in South Carolina the other day, we had a fire called the Madre Fire that was burning 80,000 acres of land. And he's shaking hands in South Carolina, trying to run for president of this putz. It's disgusting. It really is. Now, 6 months after the devastating Palisades and Eaton fires, which is Eaton is in the Pasadena area, California Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled $101 million in funding Tuesday for multifamily low-income housing development that will contribute to an equitable and resilient Los Angeles. Ooh. Now, let's pause here for a second. All this land that they're trying to recultivate is owned by somebody else right now. Now, here you go. Here's the genius of this, though. You got to give these Democrats credit, folks. What they did in California, you have an insane cost of housing. I mean, you do. I mean, you're paying way too much for housing. The cost of living is insane. These houses in the Palisades are worth millions of dollars, each of them. But what they did in the state of California, this is why you saw insurance companies leaving, they capped the amount of money they could charge per premium for their insurance policies. So in other words, they could only charge so much. Now, if you've got to dish out millions of dollars, if there's some type of natural disaster or anything of the such, like a wildfire, as of what we just saw, where are these insurance companies going to come up with that money? They're not going to get it. They're going to go broke. That was the whole point of it. So what you're seeing now, the people that can leave and want to leave are just taking whatever money they can get from their policy and they're selling their lots. That's what you're trying to see here. And by the way, there's very little being rebuilt in that area, by the way. But look at this. You got a very wealthy part of Los Angeles, West LA. Beautiful land, by the way. Oh, it's wonderful. And you have all these houses destroyed. And now here comes Gavin Newsom saying, we're going to build low-income housing for $101 million in Southern California. You're not going to build very much in Southern California with $101 million. I'm just going to tell you that much. You need a hell of a lot more money with that. And isn't it interesting? He just came out just recently. And he wants to circumvent, he wants to suspend CEQA. CEQA, I told you, was the California Environmental Quality Act that was signed into law in 1970 by Reagan, by the way. And what it did, it allowed anyone at all to basically sue people that are building homes. And that's why you saw the rise in the cost of housing in California just skyrocket after this. I mean, up until the 1970s, California was the model for the middle class of America. And then slowly but surely, you see these insane prices for housing just skyrocket. And again, it's not shocking because that's what it is, but he just recently suspended it. And I actually applaud him for it because it's a stupid bill and there's no reason to have it. It's not protecting anything. All you're doing is suing contractors and preventing them from building. And all you're doing is causing the houses to be worth way more than what they are actually worth. But isn't that smart of him? This is the genius of Gavin Newsom, or whoever's, coaching him. He just took the CEQA out, so now nobody can sue these contractors that are going to come in and start building in these areas where they're going to try to build. Isn't that smart? Now, again, you got a lot of people in Palisades, again, old school, been there, your family's been there for, 70 plus years before it became the, neighborhood it is today. And now what are these people that, maybe they're retired now, maybe the kids have lived in the house still, that work modest jobs, that can't afford the millions upon millions of dollars to rebuild everything. What are they going to do? They're going to take the money settlement and sell the land and go. And then you see Gavin Newsom come right in there. That's what you see. Now, again, this is all taxpayer funded, by the way. It says the Center Square broke the news that California state law and, of course, a local LA ordinance require fire-destroyed rent-protected housing, which includes all apartments in the city built before 1978, be replaced with low-income housing. There you go. So they're going to try to weed out all the people that have been there before. Right? Maybe not the people that have the, multi-million-dollar houses, but the people that are not going to be able to afford it. And you're going to throw them right out, and you're going to build this low-income housing there. Isn't that nice? And by the way, other points of interest that you should know about, right before this fire took place, Gavin Newsom, the putz that he is, took away, guess how much money from the California Fire Protection? $100 million. And now he's got $100 million that he can blow on low-income housing in the Palisades. Right. Makes sense, doesn't it? This bill just passed in the California State Senate. This is Senate Bill 549. It says, in California aims to allow Los Angeles County to purchase fire-destroyed lots to develop low-income housing. There's actually a bill that says this, addressing housing shortages after recent wildfires. They're going to push this through. Now, God forbid, if there's a fire anywhere else in California that takes out a neighborhood or a swath of land, this allows they're allowing LA County to come in and purchase this land now. Now, it hasn't passed yet, but this is in the works right now. So keep this in mind. You should keep your eye on this, LA residents. Because, again, it could destroy everything you have, too. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. We've talked about Smart City LA 2028. And most people say, Jerace, you're just, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. There's no way they purposely want to kick us off our land and, build these smart cities, right? Where they have everything you need within 15 minutes. So you never have to leave it. Well, I want you to listen to this right now. This is important. Really quick, I want you to take a listen to this. This is this is entitled LA's Smart City Strategy. This was published, it says it right here. You can see it on YouTube. Smart LA 2028. This was published 4 years ago. Take a listen to this.
As you know, we live in a world full of urban challenges. From traffic congestion that takes our time and pollutes our environment, to natural disasters that threaten the safety of our communities. To address these challenges, Los Angeles looks to smart city technology that can positively transform our urban environment. While not a silver bullet, technology provides solutions that were previously unavailable to the generations who lived before us. It is technology that enables transparency in our policing and gives a powerful voice to our diverse communities. It's technology that innovates alternative energy sources to reduce pollution and limit our carbon footprint. And it is technology that provides ultra-high-speed internet connectivity for LA residents and businesses to do amazing things. Technology enables the city of LA to efficiently and ethically improve the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and visitors. In other words, when done right, technology makes us smarter.
So that's a little clip into this. I'll let you take a look into it. But they're telling you the quiet part out loud now, folks. They're not even trying to hide it. And you can go online and look at the list of so-called declared smart cities. Yeah, go take a look at it. You'll see if your city's on there or not. If you live in metropolitan area, go look at it. Go see if there's a smart city ordinance with plans for your city in there. But I'll just leave you with this. Altadena, LA, Lahaina, Hawaii. Yeah, making sense? What happened in all those places? Well, I'll let you figure that one out. It's not impossible, folks, that they are purposely trying to kick people off their land to build a quote-unquote smart city. But what better way than destroying everything around it, where you have to move out? It's terrible. It really is terrible, folks. I'll let you look into that some more, though. This is a good one, though. I like this, too. This was in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. And this is indicative of California itself. It says here that the push to make tiny homes in backyards easier to finance. This is pushed in California, so I know a little bit about this. And it says that the bill aims to provide government backing for second mortgages and finance construction of increasingly popular accessory dwelling units. There you go. So let's say I don't know, let's say you have a big space in your backyard. And you want to make a little studio apartment back in your backyard. You can come in now and finance that. And really what it's going to cause is higher density housing in a lot of these residential neighborhoods, like in cities like LA, that doesn't have the high density like, for example, San Francisco or New York, right? Where everyone's just kind of packed on top of each other. Everything in LA is more spread out. But they're trying to make it so now everything's just right on top of everything. So a pair of congressmen, one from California, of course, and one from New York. Again, think about what I just told you. New York, San Francisco, unveiled a bill on Friday that would create a government-backed loan program for homeowners to finance the construction of these tiny homes on their properties. Now, of course, the bill aims to boost building of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, in a new effort to tackle the nation's severe housing shortage. You know, I have a really good idea. I told you earlier, we probably have about 40 to 50 million illegal aliens in this country. Why don't you get the hell rid of 50 million illegal aliens? And I think you'll see the housing problem solved very, very quickly, if I do say so myself, versus packing everyone into these small little enclaves. These add-ons are small studio-style housing units, usually between 6 and 1,200 square feet, that can supplement an existing home in the backyard, garage, or a basement. There you go. There you go. Slowly but surely. Start stacking people onto, hey, soon it'll be like, you have to do this. You've got to put this money in your backyard. Make an ADU. It's unbelievable. Look at this. It says at least 1.4 million single-family homes in the United States had such units as of 2020. And their popularity is rising as more homeowners seek ways to lower their housing costs by building and renting out units like this. So you're going to go into debt to build this nonsense. And you'll have somebody living out what? Out back of your house? And what is that going to do in LA? Where the yards are already fairly small in most places. What are you going to do with parking and everything like that? How's that going to work? See, they don't account for anything else. What about sanitation? What about all this? They don't account for anything other than what they want. They want high-density housing. That's why you're seeing the push in the Palisades now, the $100 million that they're just starting off with. I'm sure other financiers, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, are going to come in and buy up that land and create this this low, what's it called? Low-income housing. That's what they want. Stacking people on top of each other in a smart city, quote-unquote. State and city governments see this as a way to create more places for people to live faster than building full-size multifamily properties that may require more contentious and time-consuming public hearings. See, there you go with the public hearings. That relates back to the CEQA I was telling you about, where anyone could go and sue you in court. Again, ridiculousness, absolute ridiculousness. It's so stupid. It really is in and of itself. So it's clear as mud. This is what they want for you. They don't want single-family homes anymore. They want you to have a backyard. They want you stacked on top of each other. And unless you stand up and say, no, this is what's going to be the end result of all this. Now, right now, they're not forcing you to do it. But God forbid, in the near future, they come in and say, you know what, you've got a big backyard. You have to put another unit in there to help tackle the housing shortage problem we have here. Get ready for that one. That'll be soon. Or they'll just destroy your city like they did with the Palisades or, of course, with Altadena, among other places. And they'll have, like I said, the big investment bankers come in and buy up the land and just push in. Can you imagine that? Low-income housing in the Palisades. It's amazing. It really is. Not shocking, but it's amazing. All right, so last article before we end, so we can continue on with this wonderful weekend, folks. This is Lifestyle. It says here that FDA requires a new warning on mRNA COVID shot due to heart damage in young men. And haven't I been telling you this forever now? I've been telling you to not take these COVID shots, and of course, many people choose, again, not to listen. So, both Pfizer and Moderna's mRNA COVID shots must now include warnings that they cause extremely high risk of heart inflammation and irreversible damage in males up to age 24. Now, I want you to stop and think about that for a second. Would you put something in your body that gives you a extremely high risk of myocarditis or pericarditis, which is what they're alluding to right now, when that was on the box? I want you to think about that. Would you actually put that in your system, in your child's system? Would you put something like that? You have no idea anything about the safety testing in this? I mean, again, it's just ridiculousness. But again, the Trump administration's FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, announced that will now require updated safety warnings on mRNA COVID-19 shots to include extremely high risk of myocarditis, pericarditis, and the likelihood of long-term, irreversible heart damage for teens and young men up to age 24. The required safety updates apply to this mRNA COVID shot manufactured by Pfizer, Spikevax, and the mRNA COVID shot manufactured Moderna. There you go. Bill Gates' company right there. Again, would you put something in your body that could cause heart damage? And by the way, once you get these conditions, they drastically decrease your life expectancy, by the way. Why would you want your kid to have heart problems? Over a virus with a 99.9997% survival rate. I want you to think about that for a minute. Why would you inject that in your body? And what in it is causing this? Nobody can answer, because again, they can't tell you what's in it because they either won't or they don't have to because it's still under emergency use authorization. This is ridiculous, folks. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is why it takes vaccines a long time to, again, get passed. That's why it takes several years, because they want to know if there's any long-term effects associated with these shots. These are pushed out after 2 months of safety testing. And again, they didn't even really do it. They didn't have to show you what they did. In which case, it killed every single animal involved in it. All the people that got sick or died were taken out of the study. And they just pushed it right out there and told you to go take it. Don't worry about what's in it. Just take it. You want to take your mask off? Take it. You remember the coercion. I don't have to remind you. But again, this is what we saw. And this is what they're pushing on us yet again, folks. I can't believe anyone would get a COVID shot in this day and age. It's really mind-boggling to me that anyone would do that. So again, I always tell you, do your own research. Don't just take something because you're told to. If there's something that says it causes extremely high risk in its heart condition, folks, it's probably not a good thing to take. There's other ways you can keep your body healthy. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you'll continue to have a blessed weekend. And again, I hope that you will keep your house in order. Make sure you're staying square with God. And I'll see you again on the Marco Dre Show next week for all that and more. See you next time. Be good. Stay busy. God bless.